All right, let's jump right into it with another deep dive. We're tackling Bundesliga predictions this time, specifically Union Berlin versus RB Leipzig. Got some great analysis from Tips Moto for this one, Kenya's top betting partner, gotta say.
Yeah, it's a match with some interesting dynamics. You look at the table and you see Union Berlin way down in 14th, fighting relegation. Then you see Leipzig sitting pretty in 5th, aiming for that Champions League spot. Seems pretty straightforward.
Seems like it, but Tips Motor is pointing out that, well, neither team has been all that consistent lately. It's not as simple as the standings suggest. Like, think about Union Berlin's offense. It's rough. They're the lowest scoring team in the entire Bundesliga.
It's wild, right? How do you stay competitive and score that few goals? I mean,
Uh,
Tips Moto suggests a few things. Lack of clear chances, poor finishing, some injuries to key attacking players. All adds up. Their last game against Leipzig, total stalemate, 0-0 draw.
oh, so we might be in for another snooze fest then, huh?
Yeah.
Low scoring game.
Yeah, maybe, but there's a wrinkle. Union Berlin's attack is bad, yeah, but their defense hasn't been much better. They've given up a shocking 12 goals in just their last 4 games. That's a lot to worry about.
12 goals in just 4 games.
Yeah.
Yikes. Even if they manage to shut down Leipzig somehow, can they stop themselves from conceding? I mean, talk about pressure.
No doubt that's got to be weighing on them, and it plays right into Leipzig's strength, which is their attack. They've had their ups and downs, sure, but this Leipzig team can punish a shaky defense.
Speaking of ups and downs, Tips Moto doesn't sugarcoat it. They point out Leipzig's inconsistencies too. Only one win in their last 5 Bundesliga matches, and away from home. 7 losses in their last 9 away games. What's going on there?
It's tough to pinpoint exactly. Tips Moto's analysis points to a few possibilities, adapting to different styles, the away game environment. Their defense seems to fall apart on the road, even some key players underperforming in away matches.
Fascinating stuff. So we've got this potentially low-scoring Union Berlin team, shaky defense, going up against this, well, potent but unpredictable Leipzig squad, who, let's be honest, haven't enjoyed traveling much. Sounds like a real nail-biter. So who are the key players to watch here, according to Tips Moto?
For Leipzig, keep an eye on Loyo Sapenda. The guy's their most consistent scorer. Pace, clinical finishing, always seems to find space in the box.
And what about Sesko, right? What makes him dangerous?
Different kind of striker, Sesko.
Huh.
He's a force in the box, great in the air, and on set pieces, watch out. If Leipzig scores, chances are it's going to be one of these two.
Gotcha. So some real attacking threats there. What about on the Union Berlin side? Who does Tips Moto highlight?
They're really hoping Jordan Sibacho has a big game. He's their main goal scorer, powerful, physical, can hold the ball up, bring others into the play.
So he needs to step up big time if Union Berlin's going to have a shot at an upset. Now, before we get too carried away predicting anything on the injury or suspension front, those can really change things up, especially in a tight match like this.
Absolutely. And there are some big absences for both sides. Union Berlin, well, defender Leopold Korfeld is suspended, red card in their last match. Big loss. He's crucial to their defense. And to make things worse, striker Andrzej Illich is out with an injury.
Oof, that's rough, losing both a defender and an attacker. Not what you need when you're already struggling in both areas. How about Leipzig? Any missing pieces?
Yeah, and these are significant midfielders. Forzan, Asana Ouedraogo, Kevin Campbell, and Xaver Schlager all out injured. These guys control the tempo for Leipzig, so their absence, it could really disrupt their flow and leave them open to Union Berlin's counterattacks.
All right, so some weaknesses exposed on both sides, making this match even more intriguing. Let's see those predicted lineups from Tips Moto, get a feel for the potential tactics. For Union Berlin, looks like Ronau in goal, Doki, Vogt, and Leite making up the back three, Ranovich, Haberer, Kadira, Kemline, and Sigoskov in the midfield, and Jordan and Haller back up front.
Solid lineup for Union Berlin, all things considered. Missing some players, so they're clearly focused on defensive stability with that back three. But without Querfeld, can they handle Leipzig's speed? And without Illich, they're missing a real focal point in attack.
Okay, and for RB Leipzig, Tips Moto predicts Gulacsi in goal, Klosterman, Orban, Bitshiabu, and Raum as the back four, Nusa, Vermeeren, Haidara, and Simons in the midfield, with Openda and Sesko leading the attack. Much more attack-minded compared to Union Berlin, right?
Yeah, they're going for it, even without some key midfielders. Big question is, can that young midfield control the game? If not, they could be vulnerable to those counterattacks from Union Berlin.
All right, so we've got the lineups. We know some key players are out, and the tension is building, right? But it's important to remember what's really at stake for both teams.
Absolutely. For Union Berlin, this is, Well, it's more than just a game, you know? They're fighting to stay in the Bundesliga, desperate for points. That kind of pressure can make or break a team. They might come out on fire or they could,
Yeah.
completely fall apart.
And for Leipzig, it's all about keeping that Champions League dream alive. Dropping points against a team like Union Berlin, even a struggling one, would be a huge blow, especially because Union Berlin has that reputation for, pulling off upsets. They don't give up easily.
Definitely. And that's what makes this match so interesting for betting. You've got these compelling stories mixed with all the tactical stuff, the individual battles, the overall strategy.
It's like watching a chess match, but with much higher stakes. All right, let's talk betting opportunities. What jumps out at you from Tips Moto's analysis?
Well, one that seems pretty obvious is both teams to score no. Union Berlin, as we've said, really struggling to score goals. And Leipzig, even with their attacking talent, they're missing those midfielders. Plus, Union Berlin's defense might just, dig in and frustrate them. Remember last time these two met, it was a goalless draw.
Yeah, that makes sense. But I'm also thinking about the over-under bets on total goals. How does Tips Moto approach that?
They've got a bunch of options for over/under, so you can really customize your bet depending on how much risk you want to take and how you see the game going. Will Leipzig score enough to break through that Union Berlin defense, even with a weakened midfield, or will it be a low-scoring, tight game? That's the key question.
I like that about Tips Moto. They don't just give you one answer. You
Yeah.
know, they give you the information, the different options, so you can make your own educated decisions.
Right. It's about empowering you to understand the intricacies of the game and bet smart, bet strategically.
Okay, and Tips Moto also highlights some interesting individual player bets. They're focusing on Openda and Sesko as potential goal scorers for Leipzig and Sibic for Union Berlin. Why these players?
For Openda and Sesko, it's about form, style of play, and how they match up against that Union Berlin defense. Openda, he's got the pace, the finishing, and Union's backline, it could be vulnerable. Then there's Sesko, great in the air, set pieces, and remember, Union Berlin's missing their main defender.
Makes sense. And what about Sibic? Why is he a potential goal scorer when Union Berlin's attack has been so quiet?
Well, he's their main guy up top, the one they look to hold the ball and create chances, strong, physical. If Union Berlin does manage to score, it's probably going to be him. Plus, always a chance for a penalty, a set piece, and in those situations, his strength could be a big advantage.
Okay, so some interesting player bets to consider. But in the end, as Tips Moto always says, it's about betting smart. Look at all the information, think it through carefully.
Exactly. Like anything else, betting, you got to do your research, understand the game, the details. You can't just rely on luck.
It's about using those insights, that data, really understanding the teams and players to, increase your chances of winning. And that's where Tips Moto, their expertise is invaluable.
Yeah, they give you the tools, the analysis to make sense of it all. The world of betting can be complicated.
So for our listeners, as you get ready for this Union Berlin versus RB Leipzig match, what does it all mean?
You've got a ton of information at your fingertips.
Tips Moto has given you that expert analysis, breaking it down, showing you the betting opportunities.
The predicted lineups give you an idea of the tactics, the potential matchups.
And then you've got the individual player insights, highlighting the players who can really decide the game.
Use all of that to make your own informed decisions, bet smart.
So, as we wrap up this deep dive, any final thoughts? What's really sticking with you about this match?
I think it's that contrast in pressure, Union Berlin fighting to survive, and Leipzig, they want that Champions League spot, nothing less. Classic underdog versus top dog, but there's so much more to it than that.
Yeah, and all those extra layers. That's what makes this game so interesting. We've talked about the tactics, the lineups, the bets, but there's always that human element, that unpredictable factor that can just, change everything.
You got it. We can analyze all we want, but in the end, it's the players out there, on the pitch. Who steps up? Who chokes? That's the stuff you can't predict, and that's what keeps it exciting.
Those moments of brilliance, the sheer determination, that's what makes football so much more than just a game. It's almost like a mirror to the human spirit, overcoming obstacles, striving for victory.
Well said. And sometimes those are the things that tip the scales, right? Union Berlin, they're desperate. They'll have the home crowd behind them. Maybe they pull off a miracle, or maybe Leipzig. All that talent, all those expectations, they rise above it all and just dominate.
It's going to be a great match no matter what. Huge implications for both teams and the entire Bundesliga.
So to everyone listening, Enjoy the game. Embrace the tension, the drama, all the unpredictable moments. That's what makes football beautiful.
And if you want to make things even more interesting, check out Tips Moto on social media. All the latest betting insights, expert analysis, the best odds, you name it. Everything you need to bet smart and, well, maybe win big. Don't miss out.
Enjoy the match.